The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Whitmore estate, casting long shadows across the marble floors. It was the kind of light that made everything look expensive, untouchable, the kind that reminded you exactly where you were and who owned it all. Lorraine Davis stood in the kitchen, her dark hands moving with practiced efficiency as she prepared breakfast. At 53, she carried herself with a quiet dignity that years of hard work had etched into her posture. Her hair, touched with silver at the temples, was pulled back in a neat bun. The crisp white uniform she wore was spotless, pressed with the same care she applied to everything in her life. She'd been working for the Whitmore family for 6 months now. 6 months of arriving before dawn and leaving after dark. 6 months of caring for little Emma Whitmore as if the child were her own. 6 months of moving through rooms filled with more wealth than she'd ever dreamed of, while her own modest apartment in Queens waited for her each night like a faithful friend. Lorraine had raised 3 children of her own. They were grown now. Marcus was a teacher in Baltimore, Shanice worked as a nurse in Atlanta, and her youngest, Deshaun, was finishing his engineering degree. She was proud of them all, fiercely so. But pride didn't pay the rent, and neither did the small pension from her late husband, a postal worker who died 5 years ago from a heart attack that came without warning. So she worked. She'd always worked, and she was good at what she did. "Good morning, Lorraine." The voice came from behind her, smooth and cold as polished stone. Garrett Whitmore stood in the doorway of his own kitchen like a visitor, perfectly groomed in a custom suit that probably cost more than Lorraine made in 3 months. At 47, he was handsome in that calculated way wealthy men often are, sharp features, silver threading through dark hair, eyes that assessed everything like a spreadsheet. "Good morning, Mr. Whitmore," Lorraine replied, turning to face him with a respectful nod. "Breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. Scrambled eggs, whole wheat toast, fresh fruit, and your coffee, black, no sugar. You remember?" He said it like it was surprising, like maybe he expected her to forget something so simple. "Of course, sir." Garrett poured himself coffee from the pot she'd already prepared, his movements precise and unhurried. He was a man who'd built an empire from his father's already considerable fortune. Technology investments, real estate, venture capital. The Whitmore name opened doors. His money kept them open. "Emma will be down soon," Lorraine added, glancing at the clock. "She's been excited all week about going to the aquarium today." "Ah, yes, the aquarium." Garrett sipped his coffee, his expression unreadable. "My wife mentioned that. She'll be taking Emma, I assume?" "Yes, sir." Mrs. Whitmore said they'd leave around 10. Vivian Whitmore was everything her husband was, but wrapped in designer clothes and practiced smiles. She was kind enough to Lorraine, in that distant, performative way that wealthy white women often were to their help. She said please, and thank you, and complimented Lorraine's cooking, but there was always a wall there, invisible but absolute. Lorraine understood. She'd worked for families like this before. You were part of the household but never part of the family. You were trusted with their children, their homes, their daily lives, but you were still just the help. Emma was different though. At 6 years old, the little girl hadn't yet learned to see the walls her parents had built. When she wrapped her small arms around Lorraine's neck each morning, her hug was genuine and warm. When she chattered about her day at school or showed Lorraine her drawings, there was no calculation, no distance. Lorraine loved that child. It was impossible not to. "Lorraine," Garrett said suddenly, setting down his coffee cup with a sharp click against the granite counter. "I need to speak with you about something." Her heart tightened slightly, an old instinct born from years of uncertainty. "Of course, Mr. Whitmore. What is it?" He studied her for a moment, his eyes moving over her face like he was reading something written there. "You've been with us 6 months now. You understand that we value loyalty, discretion, and above all, honesty." "Yes, sir." "Of course." "Good." He nodded slowly. "Because trust is everything in this household. Especially when it comes to the people we allow into our lives, into our home, around our daughter." Lorraine felt something cold settle in her stomach, but she kept her expression neutral. "I understand completely, Mr. Whitmore. Your family's trust means everything to me. I'm glad to hear that." He finished his coffee and set the cup in the sink, one of the few gestures that made him seem almost human. "We'll be leaving this evening for the Hamptons. Weekend trip. We won't be back until Monday afternoon." "Yes, Mrs. Whitmore mentioned it yesterday. Would you like me to come in Monday as usual?" "Actually, no. Take Monday off. We'll be back late and Emma will be tired. We'll call you if we need anything. Thank you, sir. Garrett walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Lorraine? There's some paperwork in my study. Tax documents, household accounts, boring things. I'll be working on them today before we leave. I'd appreciate it if you didn't disturb that room while I'm gone. Of course, Mr. Whitmore. I never go into your study unless I'm cleaning, and only when you've asked. Excellent. He gave her what might have been a smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. Enjoy your long weekend. Then he was gone, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. Lorraine stood in the kitchen for a moment, a strange unease settling over her like morning fog. Something about that conversation felt off, though she couldn't quite name what. She'd learned to trust her instincts over the years. They'd kept her safe more times than she could count, but right now they were just whispering warnings without words. She shook off the feeling and returned to breakfast preparation. Whatever it wasn't her concern. She was here to do a job and she did it well. That was all that mattered. The day passed in its usual rhythm. Emma bounced through breakfast with her characteristic enthusiasm, telling Lorraine about the beluga whales she was going to see and how she'd learned they could make different sounds to talk to each other. Vivian Whitmore appeared around 9:30, perfectly dressed in casual elegance, her smile practiced and pleasant. We'll be back around 3, Lorraine, she said, checking her watch, a delicate Cartier that cost more than a year of Lorraine's salary. Could you prepare Emma's dinner for around 5:30? Something light, she'll probably fill up on aquarium snacks. Of course, Mrs. Whitmore. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you. Vivian placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. Say goodbye to Lorraine, sweetheart. Emma threw her arms around Lorraine's waist. Bye, Lorraine. I'm gonna tell you all about the whales when I get back. I can't wait to hear about them, baby girl. Lorraine smoothed down Emma's dark curls, so much like her mother's. You have fun, you hear? After they left, the house fell into the particular kind of silence that only enormous spaces can hold. Lorraine moved through her tasks with methodical care, tidying the already immaculate rooms, preparing ingredients for dinner, folding laundry with corners so sharp they could cut. Around 2 o'clock, she was in the upstairs hallway when she heard movement from Garrett's study. The door was slightly ajar, and through the gap she could see him standing at his desk, arranging papers with deliberate focus. She moved past quickly, not wanting to disturb him, but his voice stopped her. Lorraine? Could you come here for a moment? She turned back, approaching the doorway but not entering. Yes, Mr. Whitmore? He looked up from his desk, and again that assessing gaze moved over her. I just wanted to remind you, we're leaving in about 3 hours. The alarm system will be set, but you have the code for your usual Monday cleaning. However, since you're not coming Monday, you won't need it this weekend. I understand, sir. And again, please don't disturb this room. Everything in here is organized exactly as I need it. Of course. She paused. Is there anything else you need before you leave? No. That will be all. She nodded and continued down the hallway, but that cold feeling in her stomach had returned, stronger now. Have you ever felt like you were being watched? Like someone was waiting for you to make a mistake? Before we continue with Lorraine's story, I want to ask you something. What would you do if you were being tested without knowing it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're finding this story as powerful as I hope, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. These stories matter, and your support helps me share them with the world. Now, let's see what happens when the Whitmores leave. The house felt different after they were gone. Lorraine had watched from the window as their Mercedes pulled away, Garrett at the wheel, Vivian beside him checking her phone, Emma waving from the back seat. The gate closed behind them with an electronic hum, and suddenly the mansion was just Lorraine in silence. She finished Emma's prepared dinner, chicken fingers and roasted vegetables, Emma's favorite, and covered it in the refrigerator. She wiped down the counters, checked that all the windows were locked, and was gathering her things to leave when she remembered she'd left her reading glasses in the upstairs bathroom. The stairs seemed longer somehow when the house was empty. Her footsteps echoed on the marble, too loud in the quiet. She retrieved her glasses from where she'd set them on the bathroom counter while cleaning earlier, then paused on the landing looking down the hallway. Garrett's study door was open. It hadn't been opened before. She was certain of it. He'd closed it when he left, she'd heard the click. Lorraine stood very still, her heart beginning to beat faster. Maybe it hadn't latched properly. Maybe it had swung open on its own. Old houses did that sometimes, though this house was only 12 years old and built with the kind of precision that money could buy. She should just leave. Go downstairs, get her coat, go home. But something made her walk toward that open door. Maybe it was responsibility. If something was wrong, she should check. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was that persistent feeling that something wasn't right and she needed to know what. The study was exactly as she'd seen it earlier. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes that probably had never been read. A massive mahogany desk. Leather chairs. Artwork on the walls that was probably worth more than her life. And on the desk, in plain view, impossible to miss, a stack of cash. Not a wallet left behind. Not a few bills scattered carelessly. Stacked. Crisp $100 bills bound with a paper band, sitting in the center of the desk like it was on display. Lorraine's breath caught in her throat. She stood in the doorway, not entering, her mind racing. There had to be $100,000 there. Maybe more. Just sitting there. In plain sight. Who leaves that kind of money lying around? The answer came to her slowly, like dawn breaking through fog. Someone who wants to see if it disappears. The realization hit her like a physical blow. This wasn't carelessness. This was deliberate. Garrett Whitmore hadn't forgotten that money. He'd left it there. For her to find. To see what she would do. Test. Lorraine backed away from the door, her hands trembling. Anger flooded through her, hot and bitter. After 6 months of arriving early and staying late. After 6 months of caring for Emma like her own child. After 6 months of perfect service, perfect discretion, perfect honesty, he was testing her. Not because she'd given him any reason to doubt her. But because of what she looked like. Because of the color of her skin. Because to him she would always be someone who might steal. She wanted to march back to that desk, take that money, and leave it on the kitchen counter with a note that said exactly what she thought of his test. She wanted to quit right there, walk out, never come back. But she couldn't afford to quit. She had rent due in 2 weeks. She had her own bills, her own life. She'd spent 3 months looking for work before she'd found this position, and jobs like this, with this kind of pay, didn't grow on trees. So instead, she walked carefully down the stairs, got her coat from the closet by the front door, set the alarm like she always did, and let herself out. The subway ride back to Queens felt endless. She sat with her purse clutched in her lap, staring at nothing, feeling something inside her crack and break. She thought about her late husband, Terrence. He'd worked for 30 years at the post office. Rain, snow, heat, he delivered mail with pride, never called in sick, never complained. And when his heart gave out at 58, they'd given him a plaque and a pension that barely covered rent. She thought about her children, how hard she'd worked to make sure they had better opportunities than she did. How she'd cleaned houses and watched other people's children and worked double shifts so Marcus and Shanice and Deshaun could go to college. How she taught them to work hard, be honest, hold their heads high. And now a man who'd never worked a real day in his life, who'd been born into wealth and privilege, thought it was appropriate to test her honesty by leaving cash around like bait. When she got home, her apartment felt smaller than usual. The walls seemed to press in. She made herself tea and sat at her small kitchen table, looking at the photograph on the wall. Her 3 children, all dressed up for Marcus's college graduation, their smiles bright with pride and hope. "What would you do, Terrence?" she whispered to the empty room. But she already knew what he'd say. The same thing he'd always said, "Keep your head up, Lorraine. Do right and let God handle the rest." She'd always tried to live that way. Even when doing right was hard. Even when it cost her something. The weekend crawled by. Saturday, she cleaned her own apartment and called her daughter in Atlanta. Shanice was doing well, working extra shifts to save money, talking about maybe buying a house next year. Lorraine listened to her daughter's excitement and tried to push the image of that cash out of her mind. Sunday she went to church. Reverend Washington preached about integrity, about how character was what you did when nobody was watching. Lorraine sat in her pew and felt tears sting her eyes because somebody had been watching. Somebody was always watching people like her, waiting for them to fail, to prove the stereotypes right. Monday morning came too soon. She hadn't been scheduled to work, but around noon her phone rang. The number was the Whitmore residence. "Lorraine?" Vivian's voice was tight, strained. "Could you come to the house? As soon as possible?" "Of course, Mrs. Whitmore. Is everything all right?" Is Emma okay? Emma's fine. Just, please come. The subway ride back to Manhattan felt like traveling to her own execution. Lorraine's hands were sweaty despite the cool air. She knew what this was about. She knew. When she arrived at the mansion, Vivian opened the door before she could even ring the bell. The woman's face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed. "Thank you for coming," Vivian said quietly. "Garrett wants to speak with you." In his study. Lorraine followed her through the house, each step feeling heavier than the last. When they reached the study, Garrett was standing behind his desk. The money was gone. "Lorraine." He gestured to one of the leather chairs. "Please sit down." "I'd rather stand, sir." Her voice was steady, though her heart was hammering. Garrett's jaw tightened slightly. "As you wish." He picked up a remote from his desk and clicked it. A screen descended from the ceiling, and suddenly Lorraine was looking at security camera footage, a view of the study from Friday afternoon. She watched herself appear in the doorway, watched herself stand there staring at the money, watched herself back away and leave. The footage ended. The silence in the room was suffocating. "I need to apologize," Garrett said finally. Lorraine blinked. Of all the things she'd expected, that wasn't it. "What?" "I need to apologize." He set down the remote, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncomfortable. "What I did was unconscionable. Vivian has been explaining that to me for the past 2 hours." Vivian stepped forward, her expression anguished. "Lorraine, I didn't know. I swear to you I had no idea what he'd done. When he told me this morning I am horrified." Lorraine looked between them, confusion and anger warring in her chest. "You left that money there to test me. Because you thought I would steal it." "Yes." Garrett had the decency to look ashamed. "I did." "Why?" "Let's pause here for just a moment. I need you to really think about what's happening in this story. Think about Lorraine standing in that study demanding to know why. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been unfairly judged because of how you looked or where you came from? Share your story in the comments. Your voice matters. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. Hit that button, turn on those notifications. These stories need to be told, and your support makes that possible. Now, let's hear what Garrett has to say. ***. The question hung in the air like smoke. Garrett sat down in his leather chair, suddenly looking older, more human. "Because I'm an idiot," he said quietly. "Because I grew up in a world where people like my father taught me to be suspicious of everyone, especially people who didn't come from our world. Because I've been robbed before, by people I trusted, people who worked for me, people who came from privilege just like mine. And because some ugly, prejudiced part of me made assumptions about you based on nothing but stereotypes and fear." Lorraine felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You have no idea what it's like," she said, her voice shaking now. "To work as hard as I work. To be as honest as I've been. To care for your child like she's my own. And then to realize that none of it matters because when you look at me, all you see is someone who might steal from you." "I know." Garrett's voice was rough. "I know that now. And I am deeply, truly sorry. Sorry doesn't undo what you did." Lorraine turned to Vivian. "Did you know? Did you have any part in this?" "No." Vivian's voice broke. "God, no. Lorraine, you have to believe me. If I had known, I would have stopped him. What he did was cruel and wrong and racist, and there's no excuse for it." Garrett flinched at the word racist, but he didn't deny it. "I don't know what to say to make this right," he continued. "Except that you were right to be angry. You were right to stand in that doorway and walk away. You proved something I should never have needed proof of, that you're a person of integrity and honor. More honor than I showed you." Lorraine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I have worked since I was 15 years old. I cleaned houses after school to help my mama pay rent. I worked 2 jobs while I put my husband through community college. I raised 3 children on a postal worker's salary and part-time nursing assistant wages. I've been tired every day of my adult life. But I have never, not once, stolen a single thing that wasn't mine." "I believe you," Garrett said. "I should have believed you from the beginning. And yet you didn't." Lorraine met his eyes. "You know what the worst part is, Mr. Whitmore? It's not that you tested me. It's that I knew it was a test and I still had to pass it. Because if I had touched that money, even to move it somewhere safe, you would have used it to confirm everything you already believed about people like me. One mistake and I would have been every negative stereotype you've ever held. But you get to make this mistake and you get to apologize and you get to keep your dignity." The truth of her words settled over the room like snow. Vivian was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "What can we do?" she asked. "How can we make this right?" Lorraine looked at her, then at Garrett, then down at her own worn hands. "I don't know if you can," she said honestly. "Trust is like a glass, Mrs. Whitmore. Once it's broken you can glue it back together, but it'll never hold water the same way." "Does that mean you're quitting?" Garrett asked quietly. Lorraine thought about Emma. About the little girl who hugged her every morning and chattered about whales and drew pictures of the two of them together. She thought about her rent, her bills, her carefully maintained dignity. She thought about how few options she really had. "I don't know," she said finally. "I need time to think about it." "Of course." Garrett stood. "Take all the time you need. You'll be paid for this week regardless of your decision. And Lorraine, I know this doesn't fix anything, but I want you to know that what you did walking away from that money, I couldn't have done it. If I'd been in your position, desperate and angry and tested like that, I don't know if I would have made the same choice." "You're right," Lorraine said coolly. "That doesn't fix anything." She turned to leave, but Vivian's voice stopped her. "Lorraine, wait. There's something else." Lorraine turned back. Vivian looked at her husband, then back at Lorraine. "Emma doesn't know anything about this, but she's been asking for you all weekend. She made us promise to call you as soon as we got home. Would you be willing to see her? Just for a few minutes? I understand if you don't want to." The request caught Lorraine off guard. "Where is she?" "In her room. Playing. She doesn't know you're here." Lorraine stood in the doorway of that study where she'd been tested and judged, looking at these two wealthy people who had tried to trap her and were now asking her for kindness. Every instinct told her to leave, to walk out with her head high and never come back. But she thought of Emma's bright eyes and warm hugs. Emma who didn't know yet how to build walls between people. Emma who loved without conditions. "Yes," Lorraine said quietly. "I'll see her." Emma's room was on the 3rd floor, a space bigger than Lorraine's entire apartment, filled with toys and books and every privilege wealth could provide. When Lorraine entered, the little girl looked up from where she was arranging her stuffed animals and her face lit up like sunrise. "Lorraine." She jumped up and ran across the room, throwing her arms around Lorraine's waist. "You came. Mommy said you had the day off, but I asked her to call you because I wanted to tell you about the whales." Lorraine knelt down, bringing herself to Emma's level, and wrapped her arms around the child. "Tell me everything, baby girl." For the next 20 minutes, Emma talked. About the beluga whales and their songs. About the sharks that were scary but also kind of cool. About how they'd gotten ice cream after and she'd chosen strawberry because it was pink like the flamingos they'd seen. Lorraine listened to every word, her heart aching with a complicated mixture of love and pain. This child had nothing to do with her father's test. This innocent little girl who trusted so completely, who loved so freely. When Emma finally wound down, she looked at Lorraine seriously. "Are you sad, Lorraine? Why do you ask that, sweetheart?" "Because you look sad. Like when my goldfish died and you helped me bury him in the garden." Lorraine felt tears threaten again. "I am a little sad today," she admitted. "But being with you makes me feel better." Emma hugged her again. "Good. Because you're my favorite person and I don't want you to be sad." "Your favorite person?" Lorraine smiled despite everything. "What about your mama and daddy?" "Well, they're my parents, so that's different. But you're my favorite grown-up who's not my parent." Emma said it with the absolute certainty of childhood. "You make the best pancakes and you read stories with all the voices, and you never get mad when I ask too many questions." Lorraine held that little girl close and thought about fairness and justice and how the world worked. She thought about how love could exist in the same space as hurt. How something could be both precious and painful. "Emma," she said gently, "I need to tell you something. I might not be able to come work here anymore." Emma pulled back, her eyes wide. What? Did I do something wrong?" "No, baby, no. You didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect. Sometimes sometimes things happen that make it hard to keep working somewhere. But you can't leave." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to make my pancakes? Who's going to, Shh. Lorraine cupped the child's face gently. "Whatever happens, you're going to be okay. You have people who love you. But I love you, Emma said, and the simple honesty of it broke something loose in Lorraine's chest. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. When Lorraine finally left Emma's room, she found Vivian waiting in the hallway, tears streaming down her face again. I heard, Vivian said quietly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Lorraine looked at her, this woman who had everything and understood so little. Mrs. Whitmore, can I ask you something? Of course. If your positions were reversed, if you were the nanny and I was the wealthy employer, would you have passed that test? Vivian opened her mouth, then closed it. The question sat between them, unanswerable. That's what I thought, Lorraine said softly and walked away. She left the mansion and rode the subway back to Queens, her mind spinning with questions she couldn't answer. When she got home, she made herself tea and sat at her kitchen table, looking at that photograph of her children. Her phone rang. Marcus. Hey Mama. Just calling to check in. How was your day off? Lorraine found herself telling him everything, the whole story from the money on the desk to Emma's tears. Marcus listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? He asked finally. I don't know, baby. Part of me wants to quit, walk away with my dignity intact. But another part of me thinks about Emma, about the bills, about how hard it would be to find another position. Mama, I'm going to say something and I want you to really hear me, okay? Okay. Your dignity is intact no matter what you choose. Walking away doesn't make you more dignified and staying doesn't make you less. You've got nothing to prove to anyone. Not to that man, not to his wife, not even to me. You've spent your whole life proving yourself and you're done. Whatever you decide, it should be about what you want, not about making a point. Lorraine felt fresh tears slip down her face. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher, Marcus said gently. Look, if you want to quit, I'll help you with rent until you find something. Well, Shanice and Deshawn will help too. We've been talking about it anyway, about how maybe it's time we took care of you for a change. You don't have to do that. We know we don't have to. We want to. You gave us everything, Mama. Let us give something back. After they hung up, Lorraine sat in the gathering darkness of her apartment, thinking about choices and dignity and what she owed to herself. The next morning she called the Whitmore residence. Vivian answered on the first ring. Lorraine? Mrs. Whitmore. I've made a decision. I understand. Whatever it is, I respect it. I'm going to come back, Lorraine said. But not for you or your husband. For Emma. That little girl loves me and I love her, and she doesn't deserve to lose someone important to her because of her father's mistakes. Thank you, Vivian breathed. Thank you so much. But there are conditions, Lorraine continued, her voice firm. First, Mr. Whitmore needs to understand that trust works both ways. He tested me. Now I'm going to tell him exactly what I think of that, and he's going to listen without interrupting or defending himself. Agreed. Second, I want a raise. Not because of what happened, but because I'm worth more than what you're paying me and we all know it. Absolutely. Name your number. Third, I want a written contract that protects both of us. Clear terms, clear expectations, no more assumptions. Done. And fourth, Lorraine paused. Fourth, I want Mr. Whitmore to do something for me. What is it? I want him to donate $100,000, the exact amount he left on that desk, to a scholarship fund for Black students pursuing degrees in education. In my late husband's name, Terrence Davis. He believed education could change the world, and I want his name attached to something good. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I'll make it 200,000, Vivian said finally, her voice thick. 100 from Garrett and 100 from me. Because this is my home too, and I should have been paying more attention to the assumptions we were making. Lorraine felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of something like it. All right, she said. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Same time as always. When she arrived at the mansion the next day, Garrett was waiting in the kitchen. He looked like he hadn't slept. When he saw her, he stood up. Lorraine, thank you for coming back. I know I don't deserve. You're right, she interrupted. You don't. So I'm going to talk and you're going to listen. That was the deal. He nodded and sat back down. Lorraine set her purse on the counter and looked at him directly. You hurt me, Mr. Whitmore. What you did wasn't just an insult to my honesty. It was an insult to my humanity. You reduced 53 years of my life, all my experiences and choices and values, down to a stereotype. You looked at my skin and decided you knew who I was. Garrett's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. I have worked every day since I was a teenager, Lorraine continued. I have sacrificed and struggled and gone without so my children could have better lives. I have been honest even when it cost me. I have been kind even when I was tired. And none of that mattered to you because you couldn't see past your own prejudices. You're right, he said quietly. I'm not finished. Lorraine's voice was steady, strong. I'm coming back because Emma needs me and because I need this job. But I want you to understand something. I'm not grateful for this position. I earned it. I work hard every single day and you're lucky to have me. Not the other way around. I know that now. I hope you do. Because if anything like this ever happens again, if I ever feel tested or doubted or judged because of who I am, I will walk out that door and I won't come back. No matter what it costs me. Do you understand? I understand. Lorraine studied his face, looking for sincerity, for understanding. She saw shame there, and regret, and something that might have been the beginning of wisdom. Good, she said finally. Now where's Emma? I promised her pancakes. Over the following weeks, something shifted in the Whitmore household. Garrett was different. More present, more careful, more aware of his own blind spots. He enrolled in workshops on implicit bias and discrimination. He started reading books by Black authors. He had uncomfortable conversations with his business partners about diversity and inclusion. It wasn't enough. Lorraine knew it would never be enough to undo what he'd done. But it was something. It was a start. Vivian changed too. She began asking Lorraine questions about her life, her family, her experiences. Not in that performative way she'd done before, but with genuine curiosity and humility. She listened more than she spoke. She acknowledged her own complicity in systems of privilege and prejudice. And Emma, innocent Emma, continued to love freely and completely, reminding them all what it looked like to see people for who they truly were. She called Marcus that evening and told him about the scholarship. Daddy would be proud, he said, his voice breaking. And Mama, I'm proud of you. What you did, standing up for yourself, setting those boundaries, demanding respect, that took courage. I was just tired, baby. Tired of bending. That's what courage is, Mama. It's being tired and standing up anyway. The months continued to pass. Lorraine settled into a new rhythm at the Whitmore house, one where she felt seen, valued, respected. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when she felt the weight of history, of all the invisible barriers between her world and theirs. But there were also moments of genuine connection. One afternoon, she was sitting with Vivian in the kitchen while Emma played in the next room. They were planning Emma's birthday party, and Vivian suddenly set down her pen and looked at Lorraine. Can I ask you something personal? Vivian said hesitantly. You can ask. I'll decide if I want to answer. Vivian smiled slightly. Fair enough. I've been wondering, how did you do it? How did you walk away from that money? I've been thinking about it for months and I honestly don't know if I could have. Lorraine was quiet for a moment, considering. You want the honest answer? Always. It wasn't because I'm some kind of saint, Lorraine said. I thought about taking it. For a few seconds, standing in that doorway, I imagined what I could do with $100,000. Pay off my apartment. Help Deshaun with his student loans. Maybe even retire a few years early. Vivian listened, her expression open and attentive. But then I thought about my children, Lorraine continued. About everything I taught them about integrity and character. And I thought about giving your husband exactly what he expected, confirming his worst assumptions. And I realized that taking that money would have cost me something more valuable than $100,000. What's that? My ability to look at myself in the mirror. Lorraine met Vivian's eyes. Mrs. Whitmore, I've been poor my whole life. I know what it's like to count pennies, to choose between medicine and groceries, to lie awake at night worrying about money. But I've never been desperate enough to become someone I'm not. And I wasn't going to let your husband's test change that. Vivian's eyes were bright with tears. I think you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. I'm not strong. I'm just stubborn. Lorraine smiled slightly. There's a difference. They sat together in comfortable silence for a moment, and Lorraine realized something had fundamentally shifted between them. They would never be equals, The power dynamics of employer and employee, of race and class, ensured that. But they had found something like mutual respect, hard-won and honest. Emma's 7th birthday party was a revelation. Lorraine had suggested inviting not just Emma's wealthy private school friends, but also some children from the local community center. Kids who didn't have designer clothes or expensive toys, but who would appreciate the celebration. Garrett had hesitated, his old instincts flaring up. But Vivian had looked at him steadily and said, "This is exactly the kind of moment where we choose who we want to be." So the party had been a beautiful, chaotic mix. Rich kids and poor kids, black and white and brown and Asian, all running around the mansion's backyard eating cake and playing games and being wonderfully, gloriously oblivious to the barriers their parents had built. Lorraine watched Emma in the center of it all, her face glowing with happiness, and felt something like peace settle over her. Later, as the party wound down, one of the mothers from the community center approached Lorraine. She was a young black woman, maybe 30, with tired eyes and a baby on her hip. "Excuse me," she said shyly. "Are you Lorraine? Miss Emma's nanny?" "I am. My son Jaden is the one in the blue shirt. He hasn't stopped talking about this party for a week. About the big house and the fancy toys and how excited he was." She paused, her voice catching. "I just wanted to say thank you. For thinking of kids like him. For making sure he got to be part of something special." Lorraine felt her throat tighten. Every child deserves to feel special. "I know. But not everyone remembers that." The woman shifted her baby to her other hip. "I work 3 jobs. I'm barely keeping my head above water. Most days I can't give my kids anything extra. No parties, no treats, nothing. So this meant the world to Jaden. To me too." After she left, Lorraine found Garrett standing nearby. He'd clearly heard the exchange. "I almost said no to inviting those kids," he admitted quietly. "I was worried about liability, about mixing social groups, about a dozen other excuses that were really just fear and prejudice dressed up as practical concerns. But you didn't say no. Because you and Vivian wouldn't let me." He looked at her directly. "Lorraine, I'm realizing that what happened with the money, that wasn't an isolated incident. It was a symptom of a much bigger problem. My whole life I've been afraid of people who aren't like me. I've used money and status and power to keep myself separate and safe. But all I really did was make myself small. It takes courage to admit that. It takes more courage to change it." He gestured toward the backyard, where children of all backgrounds were playing together. "But watching this today, seeing Emma so happy, seeing those kids' faces, I'm starting to understand what I've been missing." Lorraine didn't respond immediately. She'd learned that some moments needed silence, needed space to breathe and settle. "Mr. Whitmore," she said finally, "change is slow. It's uncomfortable. It requires you to sit with shame and regret and all the ways you've failed. But if you're serious about it, if you really want to be different, then you have to keep choosing it. Every day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Will you help me?" he asked. "Not because you owe me anything, you don't. But because you've lived experiences I'll never fully understand, and I need to listen to voices like yours if I'm going to do better." Lorraine considered this carefully. "I'll hold you accountable," she said. "I'll be honest with you when you mess up, and you will mess up. But I'm not your teacher or your guide through racism and privilege. That work is yours to do." "I understand." "Good. Because Emma's watching everything you do. The way you treat people, the choices you make, the values you model, that's what she'll carry with her. You want to give her something valuable? Give her a father who isn't afraid of his own blind spots." 6 months after that conversation, Lorraine was preparing dinner when her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello? Miss Davis? This is Jennifer Martinez from the Terrence Davis Scholarship Fund. I'm calling to let you know that we've received an additional donation of $500,000 from the Whitmore Family Foundation. With this contribution, we'll be able to award scholarships to 15 students next year instead of 5. Lorraine had to sit down. That evening when Garrett came home, she was waiting for him in the kitchen. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I know. But I wanted to." He set down his briefcase. "Lorraine, I can't undo what I did. I can't give back the dignity I tried to take from you. But I can use my privilege and my resources to try to make the world a little less unfair. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something." "It's more than something," Lorraine said quietly. It's 15 young people getting opportunities they might not have had otherwise. It's Terrence's name being associated with hope instead of just struggle. It's meaningful. They stood in that kitchen, the wealthy white man and the black woman who worked for him, and for a moment they simply saw each other. Not perfectly. Not without the weight of history and prejudice and power imbalance. But with more honesty and humanity than either had thought possible a year ago. Emma bounded into the kitchen, oblivious to the heavy moment she was interrupting. "Lorraine, come see what I made in art class. It's a picture of our family and I put you in it." Lorraine followed the little girl to the dining room, where a colorful drawing was spread across the table. There was Garrett, tall and serious. Vivian, elegant and smiling. Emma in the middle, her arms spread wide. And off to the side, holding Emma's hand, was a figure with dark skin and a warm smile. "That's you," Emma said proudly. "Because you're part of our family. Right?" Lorraine looked at that drawing and felt a complicated tangle of emotions. She wasn't part of this family, not really. She was still the employee, still the help, still the person who could be let go if circumstances changed. But she was also the person Emma ran to when she was scared. The person who made her favorite meals and listened to her stories. The person who loved her without conditions. "Right?" Lorraine said softly. "I'm part of your family." That night, riding the subway home, Lorraine thought about all the ways her life had changed in the past year. The test that had broken her trust. The painful conversations that followed. The slow, difficult rebuilding of something that looked like respect. She thought about the scholarship fund that would bear her husband's name and help students who looked like her children. She thought about Garrett's fumbling attempts at change and Vivian's growing awareness. She thought about Emma's innocent love and the drawing that included her in the family portrait. None of it erased the harm. The test had still happened. The assumptions had still been made. The pain had still been real. But maybe sometimes people could surprise you. Maybe they could look at their own ugliness and choose to be better. Maybe small acts of justice could accumulate into something larger. Maybe hope didn't have to be naive, it could be clear-eyed and hard-won and still worth holding on to. When she got home, Lorraine called her children, all three of them, and told them she loved them. She made herself tea and sat at her kitchen table, looking at that photograph of them at Marcus's graduation. "We did good, Terrence," she whispered. "We raised them right." And in the quiet of her small apartment, surrounded by modest furniture and fading photographs, Lorraine Davis felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness exactly, but satisfaction. The deep, bone-level knowledge that she had lived according to her values. That she had been tested and had not broken. That she had demanded respect and had received it, however imperfectly. She had walked past that $100,000 and in doing so she had claimed something infinitely more valuable. Her integrity. Her sense of self. Her refusal to be what others expected her to be. The world was still unfair. Racism still existed. Power imbalances still shaped every interaction. But within the small sphere of her influence, within the boundaries of her own choices, Lorraine had created something true and uncompromised. And that, she thought, was enough. Thank you for staying with me through Lorraine's story. I hope it moved you the way it moved me to tell it. Stories like this matter because they remind us that dignity isn't about wealth or status. It's about the choices we make when no one is watching, and the courage to demand respect even when it costs us something. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to choose between what's easy and what's right? Your stories matter to me. I read every single comment. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, please share it with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remind each other of our own strength. Until next time, remember, your integrity is yours to keep. No one can take it from you unless you give it away. Hold on to it fiercely. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next story.